Welcome to another audio cast from the National State Observer at nsonews.com, the National State Observer, where it's more from us in the U.S. And today we're going to be going over taxes. Taxpayers, you taxpayers. Who called you a taxpayer anyway? You know, taxpayers, we're getting our tax returns. And it's about that time that people are starting to get their tax papers from their employers. So many are going to be happy to be getting their tax returns. However, not very many people are going to be pleased with the fact that your money was taken in the first place in the name of income tax. Because we all have a general knowledge that income tax is unconstitutional. But I'm going to review an individual that takes this general knowledge to a whole new level and attempts to explain how they get away with doing it. And he claims of successfully stopping them from doing it. So, you know, these claims here, there's a lot of claims that he makes, and apparently he has his following is growing and growing and growing more and more and more. And I'm looking on his forums, and many are having successes, and many are brand new at doing what he's doing, and are learning from their failures or their mistakes. But he claims to have had a very high IRS case dismissal rate, and even a higher rate of non-convictions in traffic courts. Not to mention that there are claims of success in nonviolent criminal cases. So let me warn you, within this article, there's going to be contained matters of controversy that I've never seen the likes of. I've never talked to anyone in my entire life that is more controversial than this individual right here. Who am I talking about? Well, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taxpayers. I'm talking about tax returns. I'm talking about taxes. I'm talking about the whole point of taxes and how they're doing something unconstitutional like they do all the time. They pass laws, it gets overturned because it later is found to be unconstitutional. We all know that they're passing laws that are unconstitutional. So we know what we know what I'm talking about right now. But let me tell you who I'm talking about right now. The individual that I've described, his name is Mark Stevens, and he can be found at www.markstevens.net. And I have found Mark Stevens, someone that I know is very near and dear to me, is going through some legal issues, so I started doing some research with him, and he and I both stumbled across Mark Stevens, and we together started listening to the articles that he's had, watching the YouTube videos that he's had, and even questioning others if they knew of any of this stuff. And it was really surprising that, well, I guess it really wasn't surprising that many people didn't know the things I didn't know. And I wanted to clarify it even further, and I went and I talked to an attorney to clarify some of these questions, only to find out they were stumped on simple questions. They were giving these ramblings on their answers like a politician would with something he didn't want to answer or didn't really know exactly how to answer. I was getting that same kind of response. A simple question over a simple question. And Mark Stevens is full of simple questions, but the way he does it is incredibly amazing. I bought his book, Adventures in Legal Land. It can be found on Amazon.com as well as his online store. It's received some good reviews on Amazon.com, and I'll do a review on the book as soon as I'm done with it. But I can tell you this so much so far, is that it's very interesting reading, whether you believe a word of it or not. It is extremely interesting. I cannot deny that whatsoever. And it's really opening my eyes to a whole different level about... I've already known that there was something missing or something wrong with what's going on, and Mark Stevens kind of helps pieces of the puzzle together for me. Now, a lot of people that didn't already have this knowledge, apparently, from what I've heard in some of his audios, some people that he has helped get out of their persecutions, they stopped talking to him, apparently, when he first started doing this or something like that. Because basically, and apparently Mark, replied back to them and said, hey man, I helped you out. You didn't get in trouble. They stopped persecuting you. Why are you not talking to me? And apparently what the person reply was, you've shown me this whole world in a view that is so different than how I saw it my whole life, and you replaced it with nothing. And so when Mark apparently first started doing this, he wasn't really replacing the holes that were missing with anything to actually help people understand who they were and where they stood. And there's a lot to chew on. I'm telling you, you might want to take a lot of Mark Stevens bit by bit and piece by piece, because if you try to swallow everything as a whole, you might choke on it, because there's so much to go over, and it's extremely controversial. On his website, he even admits he's one of the very few individuals that has been refused to be interviewed by mainstream media. They refused to even touch on him, apparently, and by a lot of non-mainstream but the popular alternative sources apparently are refusing to even mention Mark Stevens. And I would love to interview him. This is a brand new site. I would love to kick off this site while I'm building it on the back end, and have this interview and article already prepared as one of the first, so that as memberships start to grow, more people start to see this particular interview right off the bat. Because I think this is extremely interesting. Whether or not people believe it, whether or not people are going to buy what he's into the line of questioning that he has, and we buy into assumptions all the time. That's a fact. That is a truth. The line of questions that Mark Stevens asks are so simple. And apparently he claims that he's got audio tracks of where he's talking to IRS lawyers and stumping them on simple questions they can't seem to get past. They're claiming codes are the facts and not claiming evidence at all. They're like, well, can you show me evidence? It's like, well, I'll show you a code. And I mean, simple things like that, and they're just totally prancing around it. And so I think, that the more the information highway, the super highway of information, the internet, the World Wide Web, the more that we're getting connected, the more that we're starting to learn from one another. And again, I find that to be extremely important, because again, it's all about we the people. In the mainstream, you're only going to find, intros to their news reports as the official state, the police reports, the president says, the governor declares. It's always from the official side, and they're only just passing along what the government wants you to hear. Well, at National State Observer, at nsonews.com, or the nationalstateobserver.com, you're going to find that it is more from our perspective, what the people say. And we're going to begin with one of our individuals being Mark Stevens, hopefully. Mark, if you're listening, please, I sent you an email, contact me. I would love to interview you, and I love your shows, and it's very interesting, regardless of what many may think. So anyway, Mark, contact me. National State Observer, nsonews.com. More from us in the U.S. Also, please don't forget that at nsonews.com we're setting things up on the back end still. We're a brand new site, so be patient, but you can go ahead and sign up for a free membership. It's easy, just register, and that's all you got to do. Also, please subscribe to this channel here at YouTube, and hit the like button on the article below the YouTube video. You're going to see a link to the actual article, and there's going to be a lot more information there about Mark Stevens, some links to take you to Mark Stevens and take you to places where you can find Mark Stevens on the internet. and things of that nature. So if you're interested, just click on the link below in the description area, and you'll learn more about us, and you'll learn more about Mark Stevens.